Today we are going to discuss on three topics which are very, very important for any student who's going to have a future in the media sector, and it is also important for every citizen of our country. We will deal with today, one is RTI, which is Right to Information, and then Jan Lokpal Bill and Lokayukta. There was a time in India when Google wasn't there, the digital revolution wasn't that hyped, and students like us, we had to go to libraries, find out books and help ourselves for whatever examinations or debates or whatever we have in front of us. Slowly the digital revolution came in. We had search engines like Google and all, and everything is actually available in the tip of our finger. And then, one very important step was taken by the government of India, which was the RTI, the Right to Information. We never had the opportunity, we means the citizens of our country, never had the opportunity to know why something is happening in the government structure, in the government level. RTI is an act of the Parliament of India to provide the setting out the practical regime of the right to information for the citizens and replaces the erstwhile Freedom of Information of 2002. Well, under the provision of the Act, any citizen may request for any information from the public authority, a government body or an instrumentality of the state, and I am authorized to do. I am no one, nobody knows me, I have no connection, but I am a citizen of the country and I am authorized to this RTI, which is required to reply expeditiously or within 30 days. Now, the Act also requires every public authority to computerize their records so that it can be disseminated when required. So this is one very, very important step. Any RTI that is being filed is being recorded. So maybe I am not filing anything, but I need some reference, some information. I can refer to that case. I can refer to the data available, which I have already said has to be maintained. And my following steps can be taken according to that. So this is a very, very, dynamic step, dynamic act, you can say, taken by or passed in the Parliament of India. This law was passed by the Parliament on June 15, 2005, and the first application of RTI was filed at the Pune police station. In your media laws and ethics, you have learnt about the Official Secrets Acts of 1923, which is being relaxed by the RTI Act, and the fundamental rights of the citizens has been codified with this. Now, let us know how to bring information to the citizen. That is one very important part actually. Right to Information Act 2005 mandates timely response to citizens' request for government information. Now, this is a very, very important stuff, We have seen a few days back, the Chief Justice of India actually burst out into tears, saying that there are so many pending cases the Indian courts are having, that if they want to finish it off, it will take, inept number of years. So this is a very, very important concern for people who is in the judicial system. RTI actually mandates timely response, right? As they say, justice delayed is justice denied. So no delay. It is very, very timely in effect. It is an initiative taken by the Department of Personnel and Training, Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions to provide a RTI portal gateway to the citizens for quick search of information on the details of the first appellate authorities, PIOs, etc. And also, it discloses the proceedings on the public web for various public authorities under the Government of India as well as the state government. Now, the objective of the right to information, which is important. The basic objective of the Right to Information Act is to empower citizens, promote transparency and accountability in the working of the government, containing corruption, make our democracy work for the people. As we say, of the people, for the people, by the people. So to give it the real meaning, to make things more transparent, to make things more accountable, people more accountable to the common mass, this RTI Act was taken into account, right? And now the process of RTI, how am I going to deal with it, right? Because for me, if you ask me, I want to file an RTI or I want to seek an RTI, I don't know how to go about it. So the practical aspect is very, very important. RTI process involves reactive process, right? As opposed to the proactive disclosure of information by the authorities. An RTI request initiates the process. Each authority covered by the RTI Act must appoint a PIO, that is Public Information Officer, and any person submitting a written request for any kind of information to the PIO, it is his or her obligation to provide the information to the citizen. Many a times it is also seen that there is assistant PIOs, right? But whoever receives it has to forward it to the PIO so that the timely response can be given. The Central Information Commission, that is the CIC, acts upon the complaints from those individuals who have not been able to submit information requests to the CPICO, that is Central Public Information Officer, or State PIO, that is State Public Information Officer, due to either the officer was not having appointed or because the respective Central Assistant Public Information Officer or State Assistant Public Information Officer refused to receive the application for information. So that is very, very important. There are certain points I would like to make very clear here. One, if the request has been made to the PIO has to give the reply within 30 days of the receipt. That is very, very important. The time frame. If the request has been made to an APIO, the reply has to be given within 35 days. Why? Maybe because the APIO will refer it to the PIO and then take it back for that reason. If the PIO transfers the request to another public authority, for better information, for better dealing of the case, the time allowed to reply is 30 days, but computed from the day after it is received by the PIO of the transferred authority. That is one important stuff here. Information concerning corruption and human rights violation by scheduled security agencies to be provided by 45 days, but with prior approval from the Central Information Commission. That is very, very important. However, in life or liberty of any person is involved, the PIO is expected to reply within 48 hours. I mean 2 days. I mean 2 full working days. That's it. So this is one very, very important thing that we need to know. Many a times, we have found and that we do not do a lot of stuff just because the information is not there with us. I don't know. I thought if I go to a government office, it will make me, go from pillar to post. But that is not the issue. The issue is, let me take the initiative, let me find out. And now with this kinds of acts being coming into being, it's even more convenient for us, for the common mass. Now, we have to pay a fee for this RTI. Right? And what is it? A citizen who desires to seek some information from a public authority is required to send along with application a demand draft or a banker's check or an IPO, that is Indian Postal Order, of just ₹10 payable to the account officer of the public authority as fee prescribed for seeking information. So this is one very, very important thing that we need to know while we go for an RTI. We seek an RTI, we file an RTI rather. The applicant may also be required to pay further fee towards the cost of providing the information, details of which shall be intimated to the applicant by the PIO as prescribed by the RTI Act. So this is in a nutshell what is RTI, which is important not only for the media people, the media students, but also for common people, because fortunately or unfortunately, I do not know, we are not very well informed regarding the government policies and all, and this is the reason we do not take proper steps, we cannot become proactive in our approach, and we keep brooding. So this is RTI. The next is Lokayukta. Lokayukt, it's a Sanskrit word which has two words like Lok and Ayukt. Lok means mass, common people, and Ayukt means appointed. So, appointed by the people, that is the meaning of Lokayukt, is an anti-corruption ombudsman organization in the Indian states. Lokpal is for India, for the country as a whole, and Lokayukta is for the individual states. That is the difference actually. The Administrative Reforms Commission, that is ARC, headed by Morarji Desai, submitted a special interim report on the problems of redressals of citizens' grievances. So you can understand, back in 1966, Morarji Desai, think of the farsightedness of our politicians, of our leaders, statesmen. He could make out that this is important. In this report, the ARC recommended the setting up of two special authorities designated as the Lokpal and Lokayukta for the redressal of the citizens' grievances. The Lokayukta, along with the Income Tax Department and Anti-Corruption Bureau, that is ACB, mainly helps people publicize corruption amongst the politicians and government officials. So, it's a kind of watchdog, right? Who will actually make, if you're doing anything wrong, they will publicize it. So, it's very, very interesting to understand theoretically, academically, and also the implementation part of it. Well, let me tell you that Maharashtra was the first state to introduce the institution of Lokayukta through the Lokayukta and the Upalokayukta Act in 1971. And then states like Orissa, Rajasthan, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Kerala, Delhi, everybody followed. And now I believe it is there in each state of our country. The Lokpal and the Lokayuktas Act of 2013 are commonly known as the Lokpal Act. It is an anti-corruption act of Indian Parliament which seeks to provide for the establishment of the institution of Lokpal to inquire into allegations of corruption against certain public functionaries and for matters connecting them. Now, let me tell you a brief about the background of this. In 1963, Dr. Ellen Sangvi coined the term Lokpal. The concept of the Constitution Ombudsman was first proposed in the Parliament by the then Law Minister Ashok Kumar Sen in the 1960s. And the first Jan Lokpal Bill was passed in the Lok Sabha, but not in the Rajya Sabha. And subsequently in 71, 77, 85, again by Ashok Kumar Sen, while serving as the Law Minister in Rajiv Gandhi cabinet, it was proposed, but it was never passed. Ultimately, on December 18, 2013, 45 years after its first introduction, the Lokpal Bill was finally enacted in India. The Lokpal Bill provides for the filing with the Ombudsman of complaints of corruption against the Prime Minister and ministers and the MPs. And the ARC recommended the enacting of the office of a Lokpal, convinced that such an institution was justified, not only for removing the sense of injustice from the minds of the Indian citizens, but also to instill public confidence in the efficiency of the administrative machinery. That is one very important thing, having confidence in the administrative machinery. There are times we lose it, but it is just because of them that everything is running, everything is smooth, and we, the common people, are getting the benefits out of it. This is an important area where we would like you people to ponder over, think over, and get yourself, the information about the Lokpal and the Jan Lokpal. Anna Hazare, whenever it is Lokpal, the one face that comes to our mind is of Anna Hazare, fought to get this bill passed, and it did pass on 27th of December 2011 with certain modification. Obviously, time-changing modifications will always be there, and this dynamism is also very, very important. There are, these are the proposed as the Jan Lokpal bill. However, Hazare and his team as well as other political parties were not very convinced because they thought that the bill is not is not being able to serve their intended purpose. But then the Jan Lokpal bill was passed on 27th of December 2011. I can vouch that each one of you can actually relate, then can recall those time where this topic or this Jan Lokpal bill was the only thing the media was talking about, because it is as important, right? Now let us learn a bit about the Jan Lokpal movement. Jan Lokpal bill or the Citizen Ombudsman bill is a draft anti-corruption bill drawn up by the prominent civil society activist seeking the appointment of the Jan Lokpal, an independent body that would investigate corruption cases, complete the investigation within 1 year and conduct trials for the case within the next year. So that is very important. The time frame, you see, everything gets, piled up in our country. So 1 year, the investigation has to be done. Next year, the conviction or the trials, whatever you call it, has to be sorted out. Drafted by Santosh Hegde, he was a former Supreme Court judge and former Lokayukta of Karnataka, Prashant Bhushan, a Supreme Court lawyer, and Arvind Kejriwal, then an RTI activist, even now an RTI activist and the CM of Delhi. The draft bill envisaged a system in which a corrupt person found guilty would go to jail within 2 years of the complaint being made and his ill-gotten wealth confiscated. It also sought power for the Jan Lokpal to prosecute politicians and bureaucrats without requiring government permission. Now, what are the features of the Jan Lokpal bill? An institution called Lokpal at the center and Lokayukta in each state will be set up, right? And like the Supreme Court and Election Commission, the Lokpal and the Lokayukta would be fully autonomous, and any case will not linger on for years anymore. Investigations in any case will have to be completed in 1 year's time, and as I have already told you, trial needs to be completed within the next year. Now let us understand the crux of the matter, that how is it going to help the citizens, the common people? Well, if the work of any citizen is not done in a prescribed time in any government office, Lokpal will impose a financial penalty to the guilty officer, which will be given as a compensation to the complainant. I mean, this is very interesting and very dynamic, I must say. The members selected by judges, citizens and constitutional authorities, not by the politicians, through a completely transparent and participatory process will ensure fast and fair trial. Now, how they are selected, I'll just give you a brief on that as well. The entire functioning of Lokpal and Lokayukta will be completely transparent. Any complaint against any officer of Lokpal will be investigated and the officer dismissed within 2 months. So, I mean, you have to be on your toes. It will be the duty of the Lokpal to provide protection to those who are being victimized for raising their voice against corruption. So many a times we think that, I mean, we are very helpless, but actually we are not. Actually we are not. Now, the fundamental duties of the Lokpal, what is it? To judge the case and make the jurisdiction against corruption cases with the Lokpal, to judge whether a case is genuine, because that is another important area, you know, understanding the genuinity of an issue of the case. That is why to judge whether a case is genuine or whether a fake complaint has been made. I mean, so many things happen. To potentially impose fines on a fake complaint or even a short span of jail time if it is not a legally correct one. On 27th of December 2011, people who are keen on watching, YouTube and all, please go and watch this particular Lok Sabha debate on available in any of the social media, that the bill was passed by the Lok Sabha after a day-long debate and amendments. The Indian Army, the Indian Air Force, the Indian Navy have been kept out of the jurisdiction of the Lokpal. The bill also keeps the CBI independent. Important steps. I mean, you really have to think, realize, understand that for a bill, so much, you have to think of so many nitty-gritties, right? And then it has to be passed. And that is what has happened in this particular Lokpal bill. Lokpal will consist of a chairman and a maximum of 8 members, of which 50% of the judicial members, 50% of the Lokpal shall be from SC, ST, OBCs, minorities and women. Again, an important step, right? Selection of chairperson and members of Lokpal through a selection committee consisting of the Prime Minister, Speaker of the Lok Sabha, Leader of the Opposition in Lok Sabha, Chief Justice of India or a sitting Supreme Court judge nominated by CJI, eminent juries to be nominated by the President of India on the basis of recommendations of the first 4 members of the selection committee through consensus. So there is nothing autocratic in it. That is another important thing that we need to understand in this particular Lokpal bill, in the constituents, in the members of the Lokpal and Lokayukta. Now the next thing that we need to know, what if some officer becomes corrupt? It could happen. The entire functioning of Lokpal and Lokayukta will be completely transparent. Any complaint against any officer of Lokpal shall be investigated and the officer dismissed within 2 months. And then if you remember the time frame, if you are not doing your work in the stipulated time, what happens? You will have to pay the compensation. You will be proved guilty. I mean, as an officer, you will be proved guilty and you have to pay for it. So, I mean, it's a foolproof system. Theoretically, it's a foolproof system and everybody has to do their bit so that it moves smoothly. It actually runs in the right direction with the right intention, right? What will happen to the existing anti-corruption agencies? Of course, CVC, Departmental Vigilance and Anti-Corruption Branch of CVI will be merged to Lokpal. Lokpal will have complete power machinery to independently investigate and prosecute any officer, judge or politician for that matter. So this is very, very important to understand and to remember. So the Jan Lokpal, the Lokayukta, the RTI at the end of the day gives the common man the power and authority to stand up firm against corruption, against something which is going on in the wrong direction for some time, against oppression, ill doings, without fear, with conviction and with self-respect. So that is the main thing that we understand from these 3 different topics that we have covered today. Thank you.